This is War Room Moments, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and most relevant people on the planet, hear their stories, and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success, and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. War Room Moments is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board. Here's your host, Jason Miller.
All right. Well, hey, welcome to the War Room today. I got a great guest. Linda is with us today, and Linda's going to school us today. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. And we're going to have some, we're going to have some fun though. That's the key, right? Is have fun. It's not worth doing unless you're going to have some fun doing it, right? So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, hey, I always like to start out the show because I'm terrible at introducing people, honestly.
Okay.
So what I always say is tell the audience just a bit about yourself, just a short snippet, and what is your superpower?
Okay. My name is Linda Mordovina. I'm the SVP of Paid Media at LOR Media. So responsible for anything from client communication, strategic planning, campaign execution. We'll talk a little bit about what LOR Media does. My superpower, Jason, okay, I'm going to go twofold. I think one is leadership, right? I always strive to be a really strong leader. That's something we're really proud of at LOR. We're an all-female team. I'm really proud of the progression in female careers that I've been able to aid in. And then the second, I'll say mind reading. Just because I think we're always able to get in front of what our clients want by reading their minds.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Yeah, that's a skill right there to read minds. That's like some, if you remember back in the Johnny Carson days, you might not remember Johnny Carson, but he used to do the Great Kreskin. So he'd have this hat on and he'd do the Great Kreskin and he would read letters without
maybe that'll be my new move.
There you go.
I'm gonna have to Google that one.
See, now you got to go look it up. The Great Kreskin from Johnny Carson. I remember it when I was a kid. So, but anyway, well, yeah, really cool stuff you guys are doing over there. No doubt about that. I'm curious as for you, right? And your superpowers. Did you yourself come from a family of entrepreneurs yourself?
I did not. So my family's actually immigrants from the USSR. So they came here speaking no English, had no money. My dad ended up working at Microsoft for a little. He got laid off just with all the round of layoffs where they were migrating a lot of the business overseas. Ended up going to nursing school here. So now he's a registered nurse. My mom works in the medical field too. A little bit less of an exciting story on her side. She's had the same job for, I think, 20 years. But came up, didn't speak English until I was 7 or 8 years old. But they're not necessarily entrepreneurs, but they're hard workers. So I'd like to think I take that away from them.
Yeah, that's very cool. So what plunged you? I mean, why plunge down this marketing path? I'm just really curious what, since your parents weren't necessarily entrepreneurial, what plunged you down that path?
Yeah, I love to tell this story. So I work alongside a woman named Robin. She's the CEO and president of LOR Media. She's the one that started the company. I've known her since I was a kid. So I grew up horseback riding, and her daughter rode at the same stable as me. So I've known her for 20 plus years. And, she was always a mentor growing up, kind of acted as a parental figure. As I stopped, riding and pivoted into going away to college and things like that, we always kept in touch. And she actually gave me my first internship. LOR Media is her second agency. She had an agency for 15 years before this, gave me an internship there in, I think, 2011 or 2012, between my freshman and sophomore year of college. And I actually ended up working for her for over 7 years at that agency. I worked for her all through college, ended up staying on board at that agency. Took a little break between that job and this job. For I think 2 years, I worked on the Verizon account over at Zenith. And then, we got to talking on the back end and decided, she was going to maybe think about doing something different, decided she was bored not working after kind of parting ways with her first company. And we decided to start LOR. So got honestly owe my whole career to her. And it's cool because a lot of the girls that work for us at LOR now kind of have a similar story. We all, have like this personal connection to her. So a little bit of nepotism and then a lot of hard work.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. And it's,
Yeah.
I mean, I love hearing like, because maybe it's not your business, but I can tell you're very entrepreneurial driven, right?
Yeah.
I can sense that in you for sure. So, obviously the marketing space, I've been in the marketing space for years. I have 3 marketing companies of my own.
Oh, wow.
So I understand that space and how difficult it can be too. So, to choose a space like that to kind of run, it takes a really special person to want to do that. And
yeah, we like to say we're very scrappy.
I could see that.
We're small and scrappy. That's our tagline.
Yeah, small and scrappy. Well, you could say small, scrappy, and lean. There you go. Right.
I'm gonna make a note on that one.
There you go, for sure. But yeah, it's the beauty behind marketing is you can have so much effect on other people's lives. And it's not just the customer, it's the end user too, that you get to have this wonderful effect on. And, I know for us, we've seen some pretty big shifts in that marketplace. And so I'm kind of curious as to your experience with marketing, because you've been doing it for what, 10 years ish?
Yeah, over a decade.
Yeah, over a decade. So what have you seen throughout that journey yourself that are maybe some key points of takeaway?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things that comes to mind is the shift to automation and AI and things like that, right? A lot of the big players in the space, so Google, Facebook, are really pushing advertisers to rely a lot less on human impact and a lot more on like machine learning. And one thing that we really try to focus on is finding the balance between the two, right? We still think that there is a very real need for a human component to be reviewing data, understanding analytics, and making those types of decisions. I mean, the second thing is, just rules and regulations surrounding advertising. We work in the pharma space pretty heavily. We work with a lot of health insurance advertisers. So more and more so there's all these regulations coming out about, how you can advertise, where you can advertise, who you can advertise to, and just having a keen understanding of that is really important as you move into these more regulated verticals.
Yeah. I'm familiar with the pharma side of things. The client that's runs a pharmacy in Montana, and that about makes me want to pull my hair out every day. I mean, it is awful.
Been there.
It's awful. So on top of it all, you've put yourself in this very regulated space, in the more challenging space, because it's a lot more challenging trying to like handle accounts in those spaces than it is like selling purses and makeup and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right? So,
which I would also love to do. That sounds a lot more fun.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Well, the other interesting thing is, so tell me about this all-female team. I want to hear more about that, because that you don't see that much. I
Yeah.
mean, it's becoming more prevalent, but tell me about this all-female team of powerful women that you're on.
Sure. Yeah, the all-female team is by happenstance. Just, we've been pretty slow to grow. We don't want to bite off more than we can chew. For the first year, it was just Robin and myself. She had brought on some clients before I even joined the team full time. So we were working on things on the back end to get everything set up. Mary, who works alongside me on all the campaign management, Mary McDonough, she was an intern of mine at also Robin's first company. So we, as I talk about the team, I just want to know, like, we've all worked together for upwards of 5 years. Some of us have worked together even longer. Shannon Siegel, who's our social media director, she and I worked together at Converge for the entirety of the time I was there. So, it's this dynamic of, having longevity to our relationships, having worked together for such a long time that, we've really nailed the communication, the team efforts. I think that's also really important too, is just like the aspect of being able to come to work with people really well and you trust. And, we are a well-oiled machine, right? We know when to pick up the slack for one another. And there's not really this dynamic of, whether this is bad or good, of, this like keeping things at a hierarchical level, like I've seen at like larger agencies. We kind of just, everyone's hands-on. So, I think that's another benefit of us too, is like, you've got all these senior people working on your accounts. Like, I have 10 plus years in the space. I'm still hands-on keyboard. It's not like I'm dealing with more managerial or higher level tasks. Like, I'm still day to day working on the same things that, someone who just joined our team a year ago is working on. So you get this level of experience that, clients and advertisers wouldn't necessarily get at other agencies, because you have a full team of senior people supporting your accounts every day.
Yeah. That is a huge lesson to take away from this episode, what you just talked about right there, because anytime you can build a sustainable team like that, that is worth all of its weight in gold, platinum, uranium, whatever you want to call it, right? Whatever's more important to you. And that all starts with good leadership, right? So I mean, I spent 23 years in the military, and what you're explaining right there sounds like a military unit operation right there, right? You've built this,
I love that.
You've built this tight knit group of people over the course of so many years.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of lessons to take away from that. And I really hope the audience caught that lesson as you were speaking about it, because it's becoming a lost art today, right? And it's like, well, I'm going to hire somebody 3 days later. They're just not working out, right? I mean, you got to lead people too, right?
Yeah.
So that's
I think in this industry in particular, maintaining relationships is so important too. I've only had 3 jobs, right? But I still keep in touch with, reps I worked with in 2014, right? So just, as they've jumped through different jobs and, shifted their careers, like, we've always kept in touch. And I feel like that is also so important, because there's this need in marketing to keep up with, the trends of the marketplace. And there's a lot of different ways to do that, right? But, as people are moving into different startups, getting into new jobs, it also opens a door for learning about new opportunities in that way. But we just took it a little further, right? Rather than just keeping in touch, we've, ended up working together all this time, which I think is so wonderful.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So if you could give, like, business, there's on the listeners of this show are everything from startup founders to, small businesses to mid-market businesses. So if you were going to give like one or two solid pieces of advice in the marketing space to those business owners, what would be a couple solid pieces of advice you'd love to share?
Okay, I think the first one would be there's no one size fits all, right? There's no one size fits all with marketing campaigns or strategies. And I say that because even in the space we work with, we have, for example, we have a couple of different clients in the health insurance space that are all Medicare advertisers, right? Our media plans for the handful of clients we have all look completely different because there's one thing that we like to do is make sure we feel like an extension of your team, right? We want to understand your business goals, the market you're in, your business challenges. And those things all, I mean, that's a short list, right? But those things change based on where you're advertising, who you're advertising to, who you're advertising for, what kind of message you're putting out into the marketplace, right? So there's just an endless number of factors that can affect how you're putting together plans. So even if, there's a lot of the time we get asked by our clients, like, what are our competitors doing, right? And while things like that are so important, there's also all these nuances that you have to consider about your own business to factor into the mix when you're putting together your approach to going to market.
Yeah, well, makes total sense for sure. And I mean, I come from the background, so it makes a lot more sense to me, but to a lot of business owners that they don't play in that playground very much. That's why it is so important to reach out to a company like you guys and make sure you're getting it right.
Yeah. And one thing that I love about us is that we don't, we don't turn clients away because of things like budget, right? I think a lot, one thing that our clients struggle with, and the reason that, we've been able to retain a lot of business is because there's accounts that are just too small for them to work with certain agencies. So, one of our taglines is like, we treat every dollar as our own, right? So regardless of how much you're investing, you get the same level of service at, whether you're spending $200,000 or $10 million. And I think our clients can attest to that even the much smaller accounts we work on, you still get your weekly meeting, you still get your detailed reporting, you still get the same level of attention. And we're really proud of that. And then I think, I lost my train of thought. I'm honestly, I've been impressed with how I've been able to wrap things together as I'm talking because I have no plan here.
Hey, it's all good. It's all good. Totally.
You're keeping things on track.
Yeah,
so
I will. I'll tell you. So I always look at it this way from the perspective of a business owner and an agency.
Yeah.
Every penny is a soldier, and you can have that one.
I love you're giving me so many great lines today.
Yeah. Every penny is a soldier, right? To a business owner, I need to know that all those pennies are getting lined up and put where they're supposed to go. So maybe there's 10 pennies that go in the advertising and marketing budget. Well, I need to make sure those 10 pennies are like kicking ass, right? For sure. Because if they're not, then now I have to start reallocating pennies around and doing all these different things, right? So
yeah,
I'm being a bit facetious here, but
great analogy though.
but as business owners, we just want to know our dollar is going to be maximized in the best way possible, right? Yeah. And out of what you were saying, I think that was what you were trying to say, was making sure that we maximize every effort and every dollar that comes through our system. And I will tell you, a lot of the big players don't care. They will just throw If your budget's 10 grand, hell, they'll wipe it clean in a day if you let them, right?
Yeah, I mean, we don't like
Mhm.
to badmouth anyone, but I think that's been the feedback we've received from our clients is like
Mhm.
those I would say are key differentiators, right? Is
Yeah.
the level of attention and detail that we give to our clients, I think is we consider, top service. We treat every dollar as our own. We're really flexible with like our commission structure and things like that too. Like a lot of our
Mhm.
clients we work with, I'm getting a little nitty gritty here, but we work with a lot of our clients on a commission basis versus a retainer. So there's, this like team effort to scale and
Sure.
grow and do well because, as the client does well and wants to invest more, that's a win for us too. And then just, the fact that you have such a senior, a team of senior level people working on your account on a day-to-day basis. I think
Yeah.
those are kind of like the three key pillars that we like to drive home when we kind of pitch ourselves.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing is that brings a lot of agility to a business, right? And that's what small business owners are looking for. They need to partner with other people that have, the means to be agile. Like they have to be agile, right? They have to shift on the fly. I call them micro pivot. So they have to micro pivot around constantly to
Yeah.
make sure that they're getting the max benefit for sure. But
Yeah.
so I mean, what you guys are doing is amazing, and
Thank you.
keep doing all those things. And how do I make sure people get in touch with you?
So you can visit our website. It's lor-media.com. You can send me an email directly, just Linda at lor-media.com. We're on LinkedIn. If you Google us, we'll come up. We just had a Business Insider article released about us. We have some other publications that picked it up. So a little bit more detail can be found there, but we're everywhere if you want to find us.
Yeah, very cool. Go do that, audience. Go get some awesome from Linda. For sure. Well, hey, kind of wrapping up the show here. I love to ask this one question. This last question.
I'm nervous about this one.
It's the $1 million question. I mean, it's the one that everybody loves, and that is, if you could have invited anyone here today, dead or alive, any point of time, doesn't matter, who would have you loved to have here today with us to participate or just listen in, and why them?
I'm purely because I don't have a better answer. I'm going to answer completely honestly. This has absolutely nothing to do with work, but I'm going to say Matt Healy from the 1975 because he's the lead singer of my favorite band.
There you go.
So if you're listening, you just got my contact information, Matt Healy.
Are you hoping he's gonna call?
I'm always hoping.
Well, you're a marketer. You should be able to get in touch with him.
That's been on the top of the to-do list for a while.
Yeah, that's funny. That is funny for sure. Well, hey, Linda, it's been a great conversation. Glad to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much, Jason.
I always say, we all have the same amount of time every week to work with, and the same 168 hours, that is. Thanks for stopping by for 30 and spending some time with me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to War Room Moments with your host, Jason Miller. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we'll see you on the next episode.